Good evening, folks. Hope you're well. What a glorious day. Caught the sun. And anyway, got home. Excuse me. Got home and had a shower and thought I'd do a quick video for your delectation. Seeing as you're doing the ironing or something or other, maybe you can have it passively. Maybe you put them on your iPods. I don't know what you do with these videos. Quite frankly, I don't really care. But share them. I hope. I'm going through phases in my life, but this particular phase that I'm going through, it's all about me, isn't it? Have you noticed? But the reason I say it's about me is what have I got to talk about? But me, of course. Yes. But only in the hope that you can relate. Because I think that I'm above average intelligence and the same as you. I think we've been red-pilled. And maybe you're a red pill. You know the one at the Matrix, blue pill or red pill. And quite frankly, all of my friends that I do have are red pills. I used to be a blue pillar, of course I did. Everybody is, we're conditioned that way. But it's like pulling that thing out on the Matrix, out your back, and suddenly we're transported, aren't we? This thing we pull out our back, we're suddenly in the reality of it all. Yes, we're red-pilled. And I'm so glad I'm a red pill and not a blue pill. I spent too many years of my life as a blue pill. And even at the time I was a blue pill, I could still smell a rat. I knew something wasn't quite right. I couldn't put my finger on it. Not once could I put my finger on it. But I knew I was different to the rest in my class. I knew I was different to everyone in my family who loved me, and I loved them, of course. But I was different. I've always had this feeling of not quite fitting in. Even at school, I found it very hard to meet people, girls and boys, that I truly liked. And I couldn't put my finger on why I didn't like them. Isn't that sad? There was something about them that just didn't ring true. And it's like I have an aura, and their aura is clashing with my aura, and we're like little balls, and we're repelling. But just occasionally, just very, very rarely, I found someone who was new to the class, maybe, who I had an instant attraction to, male or female, it really didn't matter. I knew, oh, I like this person. And yet, I still tried to figure out why I liked them, and I couldn't. It was something about them. But it was, and I was still very young. And I suddenly realised that he and I, or she and I, liked the same things. We shared the same values. We had masses and masses of empathy for a start. Overwhelming amounts of empathy. And I was one of those always like to treat, have empathy. I used to show it by making new people feel very welcome. And I was often the first to befriend new people. And sometimes I'd befriend them and they weren't my bag. But I would slowly retreat facing forwards as they made blue pill friends, unknown to me that I was a red pill. But sooner or later, another one, because being in the Air Force, my father was in the Air Force, I was at a military school, lots of military children being posted in and out all the time, very unstable classmates, in the sense that, oh, my dad's been posted, oh, I'll miss you. And we get moved from school to school, and that's why I ended up in boarding school, because I got fed up of it too, being moved around like a chess piece. So I got stuck in boarding school. But at the time I was in boarding school, it was the same, with new people coming to the boarding school. And I suddenly watched The Matrix. Eventually, I still struggled with all this, but I still found it very easy to make friends, but I was very quick to judge whether they were my bag or not. And I was they become very skilled at seeing flaws in their character which clashed with mine. I'm not saying I was perfect, but we didn't gel. So naturally, I would have thought that it's better to have 2 fantastic friends than 10 acquaintances. Could never quite understand the word when I was young, but oh boy, I do now. I wouldn't say they're my friends, they're just people I know. I can take them or leave them. And some people are extreme blue pills. Some people are bordering, they may be turning a little bit red at the edges, and they're tolerable. Some that don't agree totally with being a red pillar, but they're open to persuasion. Eventually you see their time will come. But of late then, having been brought up like that, I've ended up with probably in my life 5 great friends, not including my brothers. They're friends of course, but 5 people who I really truly think are terrific people, and that's all. My wife is my best friend. My children naturally don't come into the equation because that's a given, but friends who aren't family, I suppose is the best way to put it. And all my friends now are red pill. But when I think back at how it is that I went through a succession of girlfriends, I was a blue, but I was internally a red. And now I see where we clashed, and now I can see why they didn't really do it for me, and I didn't really do it for them. Because it's reciprocal. I mean, a blue pill can spot a red pill. Dead easy. Oh, you're not going to talk about conspiracies, are you? Because my dad's like you, yada, yada, yada. Well, just listen to your father. But of late, it's rather strange that my wife was a blue pill for much of the time we were courting. But I think that she was a red pill in disguise, quite frankly, because she changed her mind so easily. Because she said, well, I was always thinking that, but I never had the nerve to say what you say, because I had the balls to say what I wanted to. But she was a little bit, now always remains, diplomatic. She waits to see the cut of the jib before she shows her true colour. Red. Anyway, so time progresses, and here we are. I'm a red pillar. But I cannot now, knowing what I know now, I cannot be around people who are blue pills. I find them irritating, narrow-minded, judgmental without knowing all the facts. They are suckers in so many ways. They just believe everything the government says. The government love us. They wouldn't do it to us. Oh yes, it's we live on a ball. No, we don't. These are the blue pills. And now I know why I didn't really have really good relationships with those type of people throughout my life. And it's a revelation when I watched The Matrix, because I thought, my God, I tried to think when I ingested the red pill. At what point in my life did I take the red pill? And I think it was just a creeping change. Because, as I said, like you, I'm above average intelligence. I think because I'm a red pill, that's a given that you're above average intelligence, because you can think for yourself. You analyse things yourself. You don't need to just believe it because it's on the telly. Silly thing. You can actually do your own due diligence. That's a big word for me at this time of night. And I realise what's important to blue pillars is not important at all to red pillars like us. Maybe you're on the cusp. I can't judge you. I don't know. But strange things are happening of late. I've always been altruistic. I've always put others first, generally speaking, quite frankly. I've always been a bit of a self-sacrificer, and that's how I ended up in the caring profession, if you like, because I'd rather be a giver than a taker. And I've always tried to help those less fortunate than myself, and I'm not religious. You don't have to be religious to be loving and kind and supportive of your fellow human beings. Religion has nothing to do with it. Indeed, religion is the biggest form of mass mind control known to man, and it is certainly a warmongering organisation. Look at the wars that have been created in the name of religion since history began, and now it's not such a loving thing when you understand that most wars were religious wars and had nothing to do with anything else, quite frankly, but a land grab and money. So, it's all hypocrisy as far as I'm concerned, and paedophilia. Let's not go there today. So here I am. I've always loved animals. I've always also loved the underdog. Oh boy, have I loved underdogs. I've been one myself. I had the crap kicked out of me a few times in my life. Well, you've got to give it and you've got to take it, I suppose, sometimes, but you soon learn to look after yourself. You either don't, you either sink or you swim, because red pills get a tough time, and you've got to be prepared to look after yourself. And don't take no crap from no one, no way, no how. Be prepared to stand up against the blue pillars, because they are a mighty, vociferous, nasty bunch of bastards, most of them, because they feel inadequate. Who do you think you are? You think you know everything you do, you and your bloody chemtrails and your fluoride and your vitamins and your fighting chemtrails, for Christ's sake. They wouldn't do it to us, and they get quite aggressive, blue pillars, because immediately you see, the moment you say that I know more than you, sunshine, because I'm prepared to look and I can investigate it. Oh yeah, what do you know? Well, all you know is in the newspapers and on television, evidently. Carry on watching. And they get offended, But they always resort to violence. If they can't beat them with the logic and the brain, they end up trying to beat you with their fists. But they're still losers. Even if they win the fight, they're still losers because they're blue pills. Their children, their family, their gene pool will be blue pilled. By the way, I'm wearing blue. Sheer coincidence. I'm not a blue pillar. But something strange is happening. I've always valued life, no matter how big, how small. And one of my hobbies is metal detecting. I know dirt fishing, they call it. It's dirt fishing. Yes. Because I'm fascinated by history. Because history will repeat itself eventually. But history is in our faces all the time, is repeating itself. Well, when's history going to repeat itself? Now. It did it yesterday as well, but you didn't notice. History repeated itself. How did that happen? Well, the sun came along, went to bed, and the moon came out. And we had a morning, and we had a daytime, and we had night time. That was the same as yesterday, and the day before that. It all repeats. It's rinse and repeat. That's what life's about. We're just another day older and deeper in debt, as the song says. But I love metal detecting because it is truly dirt fishing. Because I'm fascinated by history. I'm not a bore. I'm not a history bore. I used to hate history at school. I used to say, what's the point in knowing some of that happened? It's gone, forget it, move on. But suddenly you realise I'm acting like a blue pillar, and then you think, well, hang on, there's got to be something in this history stuff, because if you don't learn by your mistakes, you're destined to repeat them. And we're still repeating the mistakes, because the blue pillars just don't want to learn from their mistakes. And, we know. But one of the great things is also that's happening in my life, I am very, very precious about avoiding killing things. I would rather open a window and let a wasp out than kill it, quite frankly. Let it go sting somebody else, hopefully a blue pillar. Because wasps are one of the few insects that will just sting you for the fun of it. I'm not a great fan of wasps, but as you reach the autumn of your life, you start to think about the consequences of being a nasty bastard. Why should I kill the wasp? What benefit is it to me that I'm going to kill that creature? Whatever it is. I don't want to do it. I'm precious about being stung. I really don't want to be stung. So well, why don't I leave the wasp alone then and move away from it? Why don't I open the window and let it out? That's a good idea, but I can't get near the window because it's on it. And if I put my hand on this goes through my mind, you see, I'm working the logic of, can I open the window and get away without being stung? You see, I respect the wasp for what it is. It could be a butterfly. Okay, that'd be a different game. I would still be tactical about letting the butterfly out of the window without bashing its wings or touching it and getting the pollen off its little things. Because you don't want to go grabbing a butterfly. They're very hard to hold. And they're shy little things. So, and it makes me feel good to let it go. It makes me feel good. It is a selfish act. It's doubly blessed. It pleases me and it pleases the wasps and the butterflies and the other things that want to escape me. So it is like a smile which is doubly blessed, as Shakespeare said. It enriches those that give it, and it pleases the ones that receive it. Doubly blessed. But I have found myself going to the extremes of the spectrum lately. I can give you an instance. I like having baths, and I'm not overly keen on showers because I tend to get a bit faint and I'm danger of falling over. I always have them too hot, so I like to slobber around. If I'm going to fall down, I'll fall down flat in the bath, thanks. I'll just lie in my own sludge babadas bath. I like bubble bath. But before I fill the bath, and in our house it's a white bath. Some people have blue, I understand that, and other colours. And I noticed there was a tiny, size of a pinhead. I had to really look close and realise there was a little beetle, a tiny little beetle on his back. Just before I turned the tap on to start filling the bath and squirt my babadas in there. I thought, oh, it was so small I couldn't grasp it with my fingers. I had to lick my finger and touch it very gently and turn around. And it was on his back with his little legs in the air, but I couldn't see his little legs, they were so small. But I did touch it very gently. I knew it was a little beetle. What else could it be? Bit of grit? No. I did suspect. And I took a gamble, and it was. And I had the little fella. I turned him on. I touched his little feet, which stuck to my finger because of my spit on it. I hadn't drowned it. And I turned my finger, and I looked at the little. Oh, he was beautiful. He was so tiny. Inside that little wing casings are little wings. And he had these little feelers. I'm not getting soppy, but I thought, this is life. This is so precious, this little thing. I have no right. And I'm so grateful I didn't just turn the bath water on and squirt the bubble bath in and get on with my oh so important life. Because there's a life on his back, her back, his back, in my bath. And I opened the bedroom window and I blew it. Do you know, I saw the little fella fly off my hand in my wind of my breath. And I saw his little wings open and he flew away. Bastard never said thank you either. But it made me feel terrific. Ka-ching. I felt good. Because I think there's less than 1 in a million people would do that. And I'm 1 in a million for that. And it was the destiny of that beetle to end up in my house on his back trying to have a bath on me. But I rescued him. It happened again. An hour later. In my bedroom, I saw this little fellow on his back. It wasn't the same one. No. It was a ladybird. History repeats itself. Again. Touched my finger. Turn him upside down, and he was little. I could see he was 7, 8 spots. Nice little ladybird. Opened the window, held my hand out, and amazingly, the little wing casings open. He flew off. That gave me more joy to see that. It's grabbing these little snippets of being altruistic and caring and loving to the other creatures on this earth. So I try not to kill things. I won't use fly spray for obvious reasons, because it's bad for you anyway, it's bad for us. And, you know, I have been known to kill a wood wasp, which are enormous around here. And they will devastate you if they sting you. They're very dangerous, and I don't want them stinging my dogs, because my dogs will just bite them and then they'll be ill. So there's only one insect I won't play with, and it's the wood wasp. We get a lot around here. But I think everything that's alive deserves to have a life. And if it's endangered, it deserves to be saved. And that's what makes me feel good nowadays. It's not buying the new cars, it's not buying the flashy sound bar for my new telly. I've even thought about it. I just thought, no, I've got more money than sense if I buy a sound bar. The telly I've got is a nice 50-inch telly. And well, quite frankly, I bought it for my wife, who likes to watch Game of Thrones. Okay, keeps her happy. She could have bought it herself, but I was being magnanimous. But there we are. But when I'm digging with my metal detector then, because if I'm not watching telly, I'm in a field covered in mud with a spade, getting exercise that I so desperately need, according to my cardiologist, I thought I'll risk it. And maybe you know what dirt fishing is all about. I'm not going to give you a lecture, but the amazing technology now is I have one of the best metal detectors on the market. I would say it's the best. And I've been through a lot of metal detectors, but this one is the business. I've been doing this for like nearly 40 years, metal detecting, and I found some spectacular things, which are spectacular for me, not necessarily you. I haven't found the Saxon gold or anything like that, but I know the guy who did in Staffordshire. He's a nice chap. But what I do is get a lot of pleasure, and I often get things like, for example, this. And that is a 16th century buckle. It's a strap, so you put your straps there, leather straps. It's just four-cornered. This is even older. It's made of lead, which has gone white, which means it's very old. But that is what they call a spindle wool, if you're spinning yarn, sheep's wool. And it hangs down to keep the tension on the wool as you're spinning it. And that's very old. That is absolutely medieval. And then you find obviously the coins, and they're so degraded, but some of them are huge, aren't they? Can you see that? They're worth practically nothing. But it's like everything else, even though you do look at the several types of coins, which I won't bore you with. These are trashy coins, really. They're so degraded by the chemicals now that have been in the soil. But when I'm looking at them, I like to identify what they are. And here's the thing. I think, well, the person who lost this was possibly, it's a penny, possibly a Victorian child who was probably seriously pissed off they lost their penny. And I get to thinking, what has this done? You know, who had it last? What did they feel when they lost it? And when you look at something as magnificent, I don't know if you can see the design on this. That is actually a drawer handle. You can see it swinging on a drawer, really, or it could be that way. There's more likely to be a drawer. But that was seriously deep. But look at the craftsmanship of that. These two little jobs here. Some love has gone into hand producing that, or drop forging it. Okay, and that's come off some really nice furniture. It's not, I thought it was a duck, but it's not. These would have been hinges. But I often think of the person's finger. Who pulled that? Who This is what I'm thinking. It's not the value. These are nothing. It's not the value. It gets you to thinking about your own morbidity. Because now everybody who played with these, and these were important to everybody who had them, are dead. Okay? And they weren't red pillars or blue pillars because, well, they may have been, probably blue pillars. Because there was no multimedia, there was nothing that can, they did as they were told. Some of them were lucky to go to school, quite possibly. You see, the people that existed in the time in history were believing. The people who owned this believed in different things to me and you, because we know better now. And we owe it to people who lived in ignorance many times. Not saying they were ignorant, but compared to us today, they are, or were. It's not their fault. It's the way that we should know better. I think it's a disgrace that there are people on our planet that exist, are blue pillars. And red pillars are still a minority. You would have thought common sense would prevail, wouldn't you? With the modern technology, is it only a question of time that more and more people will wake up and smell the coffee? I think not. Because they've seen to that possible persuasion being made. So what they've done is they've dumbed down the blue pillars with the inoculations, the memes, the TV, the media. Give them what they want: culture, obey, consume, breed, nothing matters, man. If you want it, get it. All you have to do is be happy, man. This business of don't have to think. They don't want you to think. And this is why the people, a little bit like a caterpillar going into a chrysalis formation and coming out as a red pill butterfly, they're stuck in the maggot phase. They're stuck in the caterpillar phase of consume, consume, consume. And they're never going to metamorphosize into the butterfly they all could truly be. They are what they are called in my grandma's time, caught in the squat. They've got so far, but they ain't going any further, because some don't want to. Some love wallowing in their own shit of ignorance, and they can't be bothered in it. Okay, but something, take solace, will happen to them in their lives that will jolt them, rather like a defibrillator, starting the bloody, not the heart, but maybe triggering their brain. And it has nothing to do with age. I can't remember if it was a book called The Age of Reason, or Reasoning. It's the fluoride, it got me. But there's no reasoning with these people. If they can't beat you with their insane logic, or their insane logic, they'll beat you with their fists. Okay? You cannot turn them all. I have no interest in turning anyone personally, because everybody's on their own sweet journey, and I am so privileged that I'm a red pillar. But there's no way, if I was a single guy, that I could date a blue pill woman. None. Not a chance. Be a North and North Pole repelling. It truly would. And there's nothing to do with age. I've met some seriously fantastic 18-year-olds, red pillars. And I think, oh, God, where have you been all my life? I'm not trying it on. I just recognise at 18, she's a magnificent specimen of a red pillar. A red pill. And yet I see some older blue pills, the women who should know better, but they have the mental capacity of a gnat. That's being generous. So maturity has nothing to do with this, is it? It's everything happens in its own time. And perhaps they're not ready. Because we all have separate lives, hopefully. We all make decisions and we all are subject to decisions. But my wife asked me the other day, why do I, get this, why do I go through the trouble of rescuing things in distress? Well, quite frankly, I get pleasure out of it. You know, because it's not that I worry about coming back as a beetle or a wasp, or it's not that I worry about reincarnation. It's the fact is that I think human beings have a duty of care for the creatures on this planet. And if I see an innocent little thing, even if it's guilty of mass murder, but like a wasp, if I see a little thing that I can help get back on track and live its lifespan as nature intended, I'm happy. I'm happier there doing that, and it gives me a great deal of pleasure. What's wrong with that? And I just find myself now reminiscing a lot, because I see no future until we get these blue pillars red-pilled, and it's a tough task, because no sooner have you converted one, there's another one being painted blue. But I do know that the government want a nation of blue pills, and I love the rebellion side of it as well. But it is a demarcation, and it is a divider. So I'll leave you with that thought about rescuing. I hope you do. And I'm one of those people that will step over an earthworm, or maybe take it off the road after a rainy time and chuck it on the grass. I did that once, and a blackbird came up, grabbed the worm and pissed off. I thought, well, at least I fed the blackbird. Poor worm. But that was its destiny, Luke. But you do hope that you furthered the career or life of something that you rescue. And I want nothing back from the beetle or the ladybird or the butterfly. I want nothing back. And it makes me feel good to give something without having a need to expect something back. But I would hope that if I was in distress, somebody would help me and be altruistic about it. And I'm sure that that person will more than likely be a red pillar. Because we're like that, aren't we, folks? We're the givers. The others are the takers and consumers. But maybe they'll metamorphosize eventually. We live in hope. Catch you tomorrow. Good night, all.